a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Courtney Cup, hitting the cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. Hey, we discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Haley, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
You are right, Daga. This portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, it's Friday, and we have State Senator Mary Kunesh here of the great state of Minnesota. Welcome, Mary. How's it going?
Hello, everyone. I'm doing well. We're busy getting ready for the next session, but all in all, it's been pretty good.
Awesome. Hey, I just want to bring this up, and I don't want to start out on a negative note, because it seems like our show with you on Friday is always super positive, and Wendy ends the show a lot of times with the fun facts of our sacred animals. But I just have to ask you a thing that I just saw a report on a few days ago on the local news, and the local news, that's all I have to say. They were talking about the Republicans not liking the flag, and that it was a really slanted kind of report, and that the Republicans are going to bring up and keep the flag, and there's no reason to change it, and they don't like the flag. And oh my goodness, where are we at with that?
Sure. Well, I am actually the author of the legislation that created the commission to look at and decide on a new flag. And so we went through the process just the way that we said we did. It was really quite transparent. We spent hours and days on meetings and talking and discussing what a good flag looks like, what it should, the intent of why we're doing this. And at the end of the commission, we came up with a new flag. And it's not, not everybody's going to be happy with it. Not everybody's going to jump for joy. And that's certainly, we're seeing that. We're getting more and, we're hearing these groups of people who don't want the flag, and for whatever reason, and they're starting to push back. So there was a county, and there's a couple of communities that wanted to send resolutions to the governor that not to accept it, as to go back and redo it and give more time for the public to talk about it. But we did. We it was in all the news, in all the media. We made it very user friendly for the people of Minnesota. And so they did narrow it down to a flag and a seal. And at this point, barring any legislation that would change it or anything, Minnesota will have a new flag by spring. What? And I'm actually really, excited about it. Is it the flag that I would have chosen? Maybe not. Does it represent is there something on there for everybody? I would hope so. And, it's very simple, 3 colors, sort of not an abstract, but a strong resemblance of the state of Minnesota in the left corner, and then a star to represent the North Star, and then just light blue. So it's very, very simple. It's amazing what kind of a conversation you can have around the different shapes of stars and what those stars represent. And so we did come up with, I think, a good solution to the issue, and I think it'll serve us well for a good long time.
I agree, and we have one of our friends, Ho Chunk, former city council member, first Native American city council member in Madison, Wisconsin, Arvina Martin, and they worked on a change of their city flag, and she had nothing but great things to say about what you guys did in the design of this one. She was
Yeah.
ecstatic because she had to go through the same learning process as a lot of you guys did about what makes a good flag. Can a third grader draw it, or and all those
Mhm.
things that I would never think of. Um, and so, how often have I even flown the original state flag, let alone I never have. So I
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of nothing going on here that contrarians, like to contrary, I guess that's
Yeah. Contrarians are gonna contrary. You're right. You're absolutely right. Um, we have heard that there from the Republican Party that there will be legislation to recall it and redo it and all of those sort of things.
Oh, great.
Um, but we did it. We went in there with the best of intentions, with the uh, best outcomes that we had hoped for. The history Minnesota History Center was able to help us organize it, and they did an
Mhm.
outstanding job. We had a great chair and a great vice chair who really kept us on task and brought in experts to speak about it, gave us all plenty of time to discuss it. But again, there's those that didn't get what they wanted, or for them it's not really resounding. But hopefully people will embrace it, and I'm hearing a lot of good things. I mean, there are
Yeah.
plenty of people that say, that really wasn't my first choice. I wish it had this, or I wish there was that. But
Mhm.
all in all, I have very few people, other than the other side of the aisle, that are really adamant against it. And we'll I think we'll continue to push this forward.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at it from a distance, the old flag was just a big blurry dot in the
Hmm.
middle, and this one does have a state, kind of a abstract kind of a design of the state in the left-hand corner, like you said, and the star, and it'll be a lot easier to recognize too. Hey, let's move on just a second here. We have the license plates coming out soon for the MMIW, right?
Yes, 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 yes. We should hopefully have it all ready to go by mid-February. People can
Ooh, coming up.
start ordering it. I have been speaking with Juliet Rudy, who is the executive director of the MMIR office, and we're both like, "What are you going to put on your license plate? What are you going to put on your license plate?"
Mm.
But it's going to be it'll be lovely. It very, very much what I had imagined it to be 2.5 years ago, when I first came up with the idea for the license plate. And that is, I wanted the red hand, of course, and then
Mhm.
I wanted a ribbon skirt that was sort of rippling. And they were able to design one, and they used the logo for the MMIR office, which I love. So
Me
that's
too.
great.
Yep.
That'll be over in the left. And then there is going to be a ribbon skirt, kind of rippling on the other side. And you can put your own letters and number combination on
Oh.
there. So I'm still kind of working out which. I mean, that's like a vanity plate. If you do it
Mhm.
that way, there might be a little bit of extra money, but to do this extra license, there is a small annual fee, and that fee goes into the reward pool that we created in the MMIR office.
Mhm.
And so they will be able to use those dollars to reward people, to ask for, to kind of furry out information. They have to do investigations or searches. So I'm really, really excited. And again, Minnesota's leading the nation in this.
So we can go now to the Minnesota Department of, transportation and order one now?
I would wait until mid-February when we actually have we just are waiting for the troopers to okay the design.
Well, mine will be saying Ho Chunk. Hey, we're here with State Senator Mary Kunish, and this is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Signing up for $1 bus and train rides with the Transit Assistance Program, or TAP, is quick and easy. Do it straight from your computer or phone by uploading one of the pre-approved documents listed at metrotransit.org/TAP, along with a copy of your ID. We'll mail you a go-to card with a full year of discounted rides. For questions or translation help, call 612-373-3333. 612-373-3333.
Hey, if you're like a lot of people, you're probably relieved that the holiday celebrations are over. But there's one thing that might stay with us from the holidays besides all those gifts, and that's COVID-19. Numbers from COVID are going up as we spend more time inside. And Native Americans are seeing even bigger case spikes. With all the indoor celebrations over the holidays, you may have unknowingly been exposed to someone with COVID-19. That's why it's important to stay vigilant. If you notice any symptoms like a fever, a tickle in the throat, or heavy fatigue, take an at-home test. They're still free and can be ordered at sayyeshometest.org. If you do test positive, you're eligible for free treatment, and no health insurance is required. Visit health.state.mn.us to connect with providers and receive your treatment. Let's make 2024 the healthiest year ever, securing a brighter future for our Native community.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
This portion of the show is supported by Native American Community Clinic on Franklin Avenue in Minneapolis, honoring health and tradition.
Hey, we are here with State Senator Mary Kunish and talking over, and she's there babysitting on our Friday babysitting. So it's good to hear the babies in the background, and you're just missing a cat and a dog over there to make some good, interesting. Well, there we go. It sounded like a cat.
Her mama came, so now it's all excited about her mama being here.
Oh, Grandma who?
Yeah.
Jeez. I don't know if I like that. A lot going on here, and a lot of what happened this last week. News was like totally fast about, our friend Maggie Lorenz. And what's your take on what happened here? And I know it's kind of turned out to be a good learning situation, but at first it was pretty brought up a lot of angst for us here on Native Roots Radio.
Yeah, so what we're talking about is the fact that the St. Paul Winter Carnival medallion, which gets hidden every year, and then you have to follow the clues that are in the newspaper and find the medallion. And it's usually hidden, pretty well. And folks really get into it. Well, this year it was hidden down at the Wakan Teepee in St. Paul, which of course is historically a very sacred site for the Dakota people. And for decades, as soon as the whites came to Minnesota, that area that is right on the Mississippi River where the barges would come through and the riverboats would come through, and it was a perfect place for the trains to come through. And there's a bluff with a cave that had sacred drawings and archaeological items that, of course, were either destroyed or removed. And Maggie and the Walk on Teepee folks have been working so hard to return it to its natural state, to educate people around the sacredness of the site, as well as allowing, building a sort of an interpretive center there, which we have been working really hard with legislature to get them some dollars to do that. And to have it hidden there and have people tromping through it in a way. And I think there were people that tried to get into the bluffs in the cave, was just really heartbreaking. And nobody knew that it was there, of course. And of course, in the beginning, when we first found out, everybody was horrified, the Native community. And poor Maggie was heartbroken. But the Star Tribune, who's responsible for it, were very apologetic and probably a little horrified themselves.
That was
there was good.
that was the St. Paul paper, the Pioneer Press.
Yep, the St. Paul Pioneer. So I think at the end of the day, they recognized how terrible it was and how, and they did apologize profusely and sincerely, and really recognized that they had made a terrible mistake and took ownership for it. And I think it was a huge, huge learning opportunity for a lot of people and organizations.
Well, Maggie told us that she got a lot of calls the next day from the city and people that she works with in the community that really jumped in and apologized. And like you said, we got to get back one step. The Pioneer Press, there's only one person who hides and gives the clues, and nobody knows who he is. Could be her too. But they've been doing it for all these years. It's $10,000. So people, especially when there's snow, State Senator, there's digging going on everywhere. And I heard there was some digging by that birthing cave. And it wasn't as bad as it could have been because there probably wasn't snow, but he didn't know. And then he has nobody, the person that makes the clues and hides it doesn't have to talk to anybody about where they're hiding it.
Yeah.
And this was not on like the Capitol and like the governor's mansion, and there's a few other places on the list of do not look for this.
Yeah.
I think years past, people went down there looking for it, even if the clues weren't directed exactly towards that place. So that's good to get it on that list.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, the
And
list.
and it just raises the consciousness, not in a bad way, but it raises the consciousness of people like, is this an okay place, especially if it's connected to a cultural group or an ethnic group, like if it was the Rondo neighborhood, is this a place that is special or unique or sacred to our African American folks? Would you do something like that? Is it Phelan Lake that has the beautiful Asian garden area? I don't know that they would hide it in there, but there's a growing awareness of these sacred sites in Minnesota. And I hope that folks just stop and pause for a minute when they are around something that seems kind of unique or whatever before they do anything like that. And of course, we always want to make sure that we are treating Mother Nature, the earth, the land, the waters, the skies, our communities with respect by not abusing the space. So we're not leaving our garbage and our trash. We're not tromping through trees and bushes and grasses that might be, vulnerable or fragile. That wherever we go, remember, I remember this was a mantra that my grandpa and then my family always grew up with, like, leave a place in better condition than you found it. And maybe this is just one of those learning opportunities where we can remind everybody, think twice before you do, or have an effect on an environment.
I remember when I was really young, because my family was from kind of the east side. My father, Robert Pilot Sr., was brought up in Harding and back in the 30s and 40s. And the Winter Carnival one year had the snow castle, I believe, in Mounds Park. And I remember there was no fences. People were playing on those burial mounds. And, that was not that long ago. So people have learned, State Senator Mary, things they just have to learn, and people are acting differently towards that area.
Well, I remember when I was first elected to the House back in 2017, it was my first session. And the legislature, there was a bill to put money into a park up there in Mounds Park with a water park and everything.
Yes.
And it's like, you guys, those are sacred mounds. That's a burial site.
Yeah.
And people just looked at me like, what are you talking about? It's Mounds Park. I'm like, do you know what those mounds are?
Right.
You might as well call it Mounds Cemetery, because those are our ancestors. And there have been mounds up there that were disturbed prior to that.
Well, there were 100 grave sites there over the years that were definitely dug up, and I remember that was a big deal. The splash pad and all that going on there, and there was a lot of community members that were upset, and there was a lot of things going on there, and it ended up changing because not only are there burial grounds, but the bones of our ancestors are all over that park.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. I remember it was so interesting. A couple years ago when Wakan Tipi was it was just starting to get organized, and we went down there. My brother and my sister and I joined something that Maggie was holding down there, and we were talking to, I forget what his name is. He's the archaeologist up at the University of Minnesota Duluth, and we were talking about finding artifacts and things, and we're just walking down the trail, and I'm walking, and all of a sudden I look down, and I swear to God, an arrowhead this big, an inch and a half, and I reached down, I'm like this, and they all looked at me like, oh my God, you just plucked that out of the the sand path that we were walking on. So it's everywhere. It's sitting on the top of the soil. It's under the soil. It's in that whole area. And then it's a sacred site. So there are the spirits, there are the resonance of our ancestors there that we can't deny.
Right. And that arrowhead that you found would make a nice necklace for me. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Well, I didn't keep it. I handed it off to them. Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I didn't keep that.
I know, like you were mentioning too, Robert, just about Mounds Park and everything. There's a great article here from NPR saying that this isn't the first time that the Pioneer Press has used sacred ground. I guess in 1987, the medallion was found wrapped in clay and grass at Indian Mounds Regional Park.
Hey, that's not that long ago either.
No, so.
Jeez. Year before the Twins in the World Series. But hey, we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh. That's a good update. And I think in the 60s too, they had the castle up there, a smaller castle, but I'd have to Google that because I was a youngin then. And that was many, many moons ago, as they say.
Oh.
Yeah. Hey, this is Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh, and it's our casual Friday here, and we're just having a conversation. We'll be right back.
Stay with us. The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
As we age, it's important to invest in our health and to help protect it. Like the flu, COVID-19 is always changing. That's why it's important to stay up to date on your vaccines. By getting the flu and COVID-19 vaccines, you can renew your body's defenses and lower the risk of getting sick. Get your health boost and protect yourself against the flu and COVID-19. Find vaccines near you at vaccines.gov. That's vaccines.gov.
Life can be hard. Sometimes it feels like there's no answers, like there's no way out. Hennepin County's COPE Mobile Crisis Response is here to listen and help you find a way through whatever is going on in your life. Call 612-596-1223 for no-cost crisis support anytime, anywhere in Hennepin County. That number is 612-596-1223. Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Greg Bakken here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Mavericks Real Roast Beef. Mavericks has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Mavericks Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville.
Become a teacher and ignite change. Join the St. Paul Urban Residency Program to become a teacher in just 15 months. You can earn your master's degree and teaching license from the University of St. Thomas while earning a $30,000 stipend, single health care, and dental benefits. As an added bonus, next year's cohort, all residents will receive $20,000 towards their tuition. Apply now. Applications due February 28, 2024. Visit spps.org/SUTR. Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake.
This portion of the show is supported by J.S. Bean Factory off Randolph Avenue in St. Paul. Only the good stuff keeps us awake.
I am awake. Oh, hey, we're here with State Senator Mary Kunesh, and I get before we get going too far, it's that time of year, and it's a great celebration, and I just want to wish you and everybody out there a happy Black History Month.
Well, thank you, Wopila. I would like to also acknowledge and wish everybody a happy Black History Month. There's so much to learn, and while the perils of the indigenous people of the United States and the Black people are not exactly the same, they have suffered at the hands of colonization in very similar ways, yet different. And we're all, still feeling those effects. The slavery, they were brought here, they were forced here. This country, in a lot of ways, was built on the backs of Black slaves, especially in the South.
Hmm.
And then, of course, um, not having the same opportunities economically, education, housing, all of those things. So I hope, as much as there seems to be a positive turn for our Native community, Indigenous people across America, I hope that that is continuing for our African American communities. And one thing I'll just share that's really positive is our neighbors in Wisconsin passed Missing and Murdered African American Women's Task Force.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was based on the legislation that Representative Ruth Richardson and I passed here in Minnesota.
Mm,
So we've been supporting them back and forth. They
great.
really used a lot of our experience to get theirs passed. And I just recently wrote a letter, and this was to create their office, their permanent office of missing and murdered African Americans, like we have. And
Hmm.
so I just recently wrote a letter of support, and the bill passed. And so we will continue to do that work with them, because the intersections of African American and Indigenous people is very strong. And let's remember that there are a lot of our
Hmm.
relatives that are mixed, whether it's with the Latino community, the African American community, the Asian, South Pacific. We are an amalgamation of all these beautiful cultures.
Yep.
And plenty of our relatives carry the heritage of both the African American and the Indigenous.
Yeah, and I was going to mention that too. I'm glad you did. And there's a newer term out there now, Afro-Indigenous, that I've heard
Hmm.
as a old person here going, "Oh, that's a new one." But many of them are our relatives and
Hmm.
really our close relatives, Haley. So we do have a
Yeah.
lot of McKees out there that are Afro-Indigenous. So
Yeah.
a great Black History Month to everybody listening.
Yeah, 100%.
So we got always have to do this with Wendy was always telling me, well, ask Mary what she wants to talk about. And one of the things before we get there, and I think you wanted to talk about this too, is the museums and this new federal law that just came out that kind of I don't know, surprised people, or at least seemed that way in the national news. What's your
Yeah.
take?
Well, it shouldn't surprise people too much. What it is that an update to the NAGPRA law, a NAGPRA Act. That's the
Hmm.
Native American Graves Protection and Reparation Act. And there was a recent update to that. And so what the deal is that you just can't go dig up mounds, dig up areas, and take whatever is found, whether it's the bones or the artifacts or anything like that. And that's been around. NAGPRA has been around for a long, long time.
Mm.
But now what they're saying is that uh, these museums that are holding a lot of these artifacts, they um, really need to repatriate them back to the tribes.
Wow.
And so what they have to do is get consent from the tribes before displaying any cultural objects or using them for research, because we've heard the stories of, in the past, archaeologists finding bones
Hmm.
and taking them to their universities or their research places and studying the bones and that sort of thing. Well, those are our ancestors.
Right.
Those are somebody's parents, grandparents, great grandparents, no matter what. And I don't know that any of us, um, without permission, would want that to happen. And so there are some museums that are, really doing the best that they can. Others are saying, well, until we hear from the tribes, we're just going to continue. But, for a lot of museums, they have substantial displays and exhibits. I mean, if you
Right.
think of here in the Twin Cities, some of our museums have incredible ones, and even our history center. So I think there will be a lot of work on the side of these museums to be sure that they are following this to the to the last letter, to the last period of the law. And you know, in the past, I've heard, well, we can't give it back. Where are they going to put it? Do they have museums to put it?
Wow.
You know, how do they
Wow.
even know how to hold it or handle it? I mean, like we
Whoa.
don't know how to take care of our ancestors.
Gee.
And so, um, you know, I mean, and that in a way, that's a legitimate thing. You know, if you were to return 10 semi truck full of artifacts and remains, um, are we prepared to get them back? But I think what's most important here is you're working with the tribes. You're
Mhm.
working with them. And if it means that, please hold on to them until we are ready for them. But we do want them back, or at least we want to have a say in how they're displayed and how they're used.
Well, you remember the story in 2005, we got, the tribe got this back, but the story about Yale and their secret society, Skull and Bones, having Geronimo's skull for all those years and on display at their Yale, fraternity place, and finally getting that back in 2005 and burying it with the rest of his body. Is this an example, Mary, of what we're talking about, maybe in the more severe side, but yet
Mhm.
still that's what we're talking about?
Yeah, yeah. Again, it's one of those things that we have to continue to educate around and educate around. So um, we'll keep doing it. We'll keep doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what do you got ahead? We got a couple more minutes here. What do you got ahead this next week? I know you've been doing a lot of traveling around the state. I know you have your grandkids this weekend, and but you guys are a couple weeks away from firing up another session and another triple threat session too, I may add. And so there's got to be some excitement and preparation going on these next 2 weeks.
Yep, we're doing a lot of preparation for this next session. Last session we had just an astronomical session where we had a lot of surplus dollars and we had a lot of money to invest in Minnesota, and we used every penny of it. Let me tell you, and
Mm,
we used it in the best way possible. As the chair of
yeah.
education finance, I had $5.3 billion to put towards education, and it's starting to pay off. There
Yeah.
was a great article in the Star Tribune about how Minneapolis schools put at least a halftime licensed librarian back into their schools.
Yeah.
And one of the quotes from the library media specialist was that the books are flying off the shelf by the gazillion. So it's working. Yay. It's
Yeah, that
working.
is, yes,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Yeah, so as a former library media specialist myself, I was just like ecstatic to read that article and hear
Mhm.
about that. But I think this will be a little bit of more of a subdued session. It's a shorter session. We're not starting until mid-February, and we have to be done before Memorial Day.
Mhm.
And we don't have the funding that we had last year. And it's not a funding year; it's a bonding year. So that means
Right.
we'll be really focusing on providing the supports for the infrastructure of our state: roads, bridges, state owned buildings, universities, and colleges. And, you know, I kind of have just been saying, I want to review what we did. I want to improve on, you know, anything that we need to improve on, if we can tinker with it here or there a little bit. And then I just want to kind of let it all settle before we start working on some other really good things. We did add new curriculum, ethnic studies,
Mm.
health, no, not health standards. Oh, ethnic studies. What else did we put in there? How can I even forget that? But there are a couple of things that we did, and it'll take some work to get it done. And personal finance, that was
Yeah.
one. That was the other one, which I think is
Ooh.
real important. So
Yeah.
we'll just continue to review what we did and make sure that we have the resources there for the schools and the housing and health services, all of those different areas have those resources to do the work that we ask them to do.
So are there any like holdover bills that you didn't get to that can come up, or does that have to go to the next session?
No, we work on a biennium. So if you introduce a bill the first year of the biennium, which was last year,
Mhm.
it carries to the second year this year. So we don't have to reintroduce them. Now,
Ah.
if there's some more bills that we want to do repeat next year, the next biennium, then we would have to get a new bill number and everything like that.
Well, your work's cut out for you, and I'm really glad that you're there. And always great to see a familiar face when we do visit the Capitol. And thank you so much for coming in and spending some time with us. I know it's well appreciated, and I hear a lot of really good things. And this is our 7th year on the air as of January, and you've been such a big part of it. And I just want to say a big Peeny Gigi.
Well, Wapilatanka for always inviting me and giving me an opportunity to talk about this stuff that just seems to come to our mind pretty easily.
Right on. Hey, we'll be right back. It's Native Roots Radio.
J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
The city of Minneapolis is now on Native Roots Radio with Minneapolis AIR. AIR stands for American Indian Relations. Guest host Christine McDonald talks to people about important things affecting the city's Native communities. Minneapolis AIR dives into topics like public safety, public health, elections, and so much more. Tune in to Minneapolis AIR on Native Roots Radio from 5 to 6 p.m. on the second Wednesday of every month, right here on AM 950.
As we pack away the ornaments and bid farewell to the holiday season, it's time to unwrap the gift that keeps on giving, getting protected by a COVID-19 vaccination. This is your chance to make a difference, especially as our Native communities face higher COVID numbers. Those higher numbers underscore the need for collective action. So answer the call and get vaccinated. The latest vaccines are not just authorized, but they're proven effective against the current variants. This is extra protection even if you've already had previous vaccines, since previous vaccines will eventually wear off. Plus, the new shots are FDA approved for ages 6 months and up. A COVID vaccine is not just a shot. It's a pledge to safeguard the wisdom and stories handed down by our elders. So join the movement, get vaccinated, and make 2024 the healthiest year ever, securing a brighter future for our Native community. For more information, including details about clinics offering free vaccines, visit vaccines.gov.
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents. I'm Wake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Oh! Hey, Haley, what's happening? I guess we'd like to talk a little bit what's happening around the Twin Cities here the next few days, or really the next day. It looks like there's a lot of stuff happening.
A ton of things happening around the Twin Cities metro area. Really good Native Indigenous events going on. Tomorrow, starting out the weekend, we have Native Art Market, which is happening Saturday, February 3rd from 1 to...
And hard to say. Art Market. No, Native Art Market. That's hard to say.
Yeah, Native Heart Art Market. There we go. That'll be at 120 or 1228 Payne Avenue in St. Paul. Some of the artists there: Jennifer Adams, Jada Gray Eagle, Delaney Kashana, Alex Romero. So yeah,
Marlena
definitely.
Miles, who I don't know if you've seen her buses, but there's buses that she's designed, city buses, and she's just been an unbelievable artist over the years. And Marissa Martinez, it's funny. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but everybody in my immediate family here, Wendy and my two daughters and myself, we have an eagle ring that I bought for Christmas from Marissa, eagle feather, I should say, eagle
Oh,
ring. Oh,
I was like, oh, do you guys take turns wearing the ring or something?
or the eagle, right?
Yeah.
But she does silver work, and geez, I'm definitely going to try and get out there as soon as possible because those are some really well-known artists too. And it's going to be hard too because I know we're going to talk about a little bit about Shakopee's powwow, but I'm going to be trying to get out there for grand entry too. So I don't know how can I be at two places at once?
You cannot. That's the trick. But there's a plenty other things. So if Shakopee powwow is a little bit too big for you and you want to hit up some of the smaller markets, this would be a good one. Again, 1228 Payne Avenue in St. Paul tomorrow, Saturday from 1 to 4. Otherwise, we have the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux Community Winter Wachipi or Winter Powwow celebration happening, going on all weekend. So the 3rd through the 4th, grand entry Saturdays at 1 and 7 p.m., Sunday at 1 p.m. It's public welcome. There's free admission, and there's also a live stream. And again, this is in Shakopee at 2300 Tawahi Circle.
Well, that's how I can be in two places at once. They have a live stream.
There you go.
Jeez, thank you. What the heck?
Yeah, I know. I always like the live stream too. But they'll have moccasin games, drum groups, craft vendors, dance contests, prizes, all of the good stuff out there.
I know last year we had a group of Ho Chunk playing the moccasin games that took second place, and that was
Nice.
huge. And that's a
Yeah.
heck of a game. Come and watch. It's pretty fun and intense, and it's a big guessing game. And I'm sure it's in another room other than the main powwow. So walk around a little bit and try and find that. It's definitely worth it. It's definitely history and good medicine.
Absolutely. I remember trying to watch and learn from some of the players that were playing the moccasin games at the last powwow I was at. And it is such an exciting game. We get so into it. Anyways, if you can't make it to the Mdewakanton Sioux powwow this weekend and you want to check out this Lovers Craft Affair Indigenous Market is happening Sunday, February 4th. Noon to 4, and this is happening at Eagle and Condor, 790 7th Street, St. Paul.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's named that too, and there's history behind the eagle and the condor, and that's a story about the eagle as being the Native Americans and the condor as our Latino friends in the south of the border, which of course there was no borders back then, but that have gotten together. And so it's a very symbolic name too.
That's a good point. What else? So Trickster Tacos will be at the Lovers Craft Affair Indigenous Market on Sunday, along with Skoden Studio, Edible Arts, and Blue Hummingbird Woman. Well, that'll be awesome as well.
That's on Sunday. Okay. So Saturday you can go to the Native Heart Art Market, and then Sunday go to on the east side too, the Lovers Craft Indigenous Market. Mingle, shop, and taste sweet treats.
I know.
See,
It's always everything is just good. The food, the company, the activities, the art, the jewelry. I just love going to powwows and all these art markets. Everyone's so talented.
Yeah, I want to mention this MMIWR event a couple times in this last segment. I know we got a couple other places to do to talk about, but the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Relatives March, which since COVID's been kind of up and down. Last year, it was funny. It was raining, but also the streets were so icy. And this year, we're looking for better weather. And it starts at 11 on February 14th, which is some people know as Valentine's Day also. But there's speakers at 11, and it's in the ASL Interpreted. Where is it exactly?
It's looking like East Phillips Community and Culture Center,
Oh, cool.
2307.
That's where it was that's where it was last year. Cool. Because we're used to having it at the Indian Center, and that's opening up soon in May. And we'll be able to get back, and Grandpa Pilot here won't be all confused where to go.
But yes, if you're going to go out to the march, we'll definitely be there again. February 14th, speakers start at 11, and march begins at noon, and wear red.
Yeah, definitely wear red, because it'll be a sea of red. And one of the things too, I always want to remind our relatives and our allies that come to this and come to things like that, is that the women lead this march. And I just want to bring that up, because over the years there's been lack of knowledge, but the women will be leading this march for sure. So that's one thing that we want to be straight with everybody, and come represent, come join in, wear red, and hear the speakers before the march. It's always inspiring. There's people from all over the country that come to this. And I remember one year Bernie Sanders' wife marched with us, and when he was running for president, and that was really fun. We had her on Native Roots Radio that day. And so there's people that are really boots on the ground coming and joining us, and stories. And it's somber. It's so somber, Haley, that, with people bringing in, and their relatives are still missing. There's posters of people and families that they still haven't found their loved ones. So it's a somber event, but it needs to be done. And it's also a gathering and a celebration of sorts.
Yeah. We'll keep bringing attention to our missing and murdered Indigenous relatives, and we're always thinking about them. And yeah, it should be just a great day. We're hoping for a big turnout. And who are some of the other people, Robert or Dega, that have came out to the march? Usually it's like Heather Keeler and Mary Kunish.
Yeah, and Mary always speaks, the state senator. She always speaks, and because that she was a part of that bill of the MMIWR office here, and so she's had a big push over the years, and has had a opening statement. The governor's been there, and of course the lieutenant governor.
Right.
So to me, those are the top dogs. And also, like I said, I can't remember her first name. I'm a dum-dum here, but Bernie Sanders' wife. Bernie Sanders' wife.
I actually, unfortunately, don't know her name.
Right, and I don't Google fast enough to make this a relevant statement. But hey, I just want to say, hey, big Pinigigi to all you people that are doing things for the community and art. Always ask who made whatever you're buying that looks indigenous. If they can't tell you, don't buy it. We're still here. We are the 7th generation, and this has been Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Free Leonard Peltier. Now.